I apologize that we're a little late starting this morning. We had an earlier subcommittee meeting of one of our other committees. I'd like to call to order the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Committee on Strategic Planning to order. We do have a quorum present. This is the first time in 3 trips that we didn't have snow, sleet, ice, or something, or a hurricane that stopped this committee. So we finally have a quorum, and we can meet. I'd like to welcome everyone that's here today participating in our meeting. These, as you know, under our current organization, these committee meetings have become extremely important. This is where the real work of the board takes place, and so I appreciate each of you being here today. We have a special circumstance that came to my attention I guess it was the day. By the way, before I get started on that special, I must say this is a special day for me, and you need to know that I married a very special woman 38 years ago today, and that I'm being here tonight on my anniversary. So I celebrated it earlier last night, so I took care of that. But I got a call when we returned from our trip, I guess the next day, from Leroy Hermes, who's here today. Leroy, good to have you here, who is chairman of the Board of Regents at the University of Houston, and conveying to me an opportunity that just basically had come out of the sky and is a blessing to not only U of H potentially, but to the state of Texas, and particularly to young men and women who may have access to this opportunity. They are not agendized, but as part of my report, I asked Susan Brown to contact U of H, and I contacted Leroy back to tell him that we would receive a presentation today on a project from U of H and this opportunity. It is not agendized. We can't discuss it. We can't ask questions. We can just listen. But the important thing is that because of some timing factors from a legal standpoint, it's important that if the board is going to consider this in behalf of U of H, then we need to do so at our July 20th board meeting. And I felt it was important for us to hear today what U of H's opportunity is, and then if after the meeting we have some suggestions or comments, then we can pass those on to Susan Brown, and they can be prepared to address those at the July 20 board meeting. So with that in mind, I understand that Dr. Donald Foss is here today with U of H to make a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We really appreciate your giving us this opportunity, and Mr. Paredes, thank you for allowing us to come here, members of the board and the staff with whom we've had some kind of intense exchanges, really only in days time frame. I believe that we have gotten you a brief report, and I hope this morning a color map, which didn't want to come through in the electronic version yesterday. So let me just try and take about 10 minutes of your time, if that suits you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
There's a time theme in this. One of the time themes is that a couple of years ago, the Board of Regents of the University of Houston system, as part of a comprehensive strategic planning process, conducted a demographic analysis of the region that the University of Houston campuses sit in. And one of the obvious outcomes of that analysis was that the northwest corridor or quadrant of the Houston region is underserved in terms of upper-level universities. And if you have that little color map with you, what I mean by the northwest quadrant is the section that is north of I-10 and west of I-45 and outside the 610 loop, that section of the region. That region is a a tremendous growth area in our region and in the state of Texas. In 1990, there were approximately 875,000 people. Today, there's 1.4 million, and conservative estimates place the population there at 1.7 million within less than a decade from now. So this is a region with a lot of people in it. In terms of the higher education, the region is served primarily by the North Harris Montgomery Community College District, which has 43,000 students, many of them on the academic track in our area, and that's a good thing with respect to the Closing the Gaps initiative, because many of these students give us the possibility of getting degrees in the state of Texas. The region is one that, as I mentioned, does not have a lot of service with respect to upper-level universities. So it is our proposal to found an upper-level institution in that region that would be done a little differently than some of the other growth nodes that have happened in higher education in Texas in the recent past. We propose that this would be a branch campus of the University of Houston. The mission of that campus would be to provide high-quality upper division and master's level academic programs and student support services to the Northwest Houston region students. Our hope would be to cooperate very intensely with the community colleges in the region. Indeed, we have a vision that they might co-locate with us in the physical facility to have what would be a tremendously seamless possibility of working together in transferring their students into this institution should it be approved. The academic programs, again, we are envisioning this as a rather bold step in terms of developing and delivering educational programs to the students. So what we will plan to do is to come before the board and ask for permission to, in a fairly aggressive timetable, to develop 40-plus degree plans. Not all of them at once, but in a staged fashion. And our hope would be to be able to do that, as I said, in a small number of years on a quite aggressive timetable, because we feel that there is the need in that region, and furthermore, given the facility that I'm about to tell you about, we certainly would have the space to do that and the desire to do that. The prospective programs are shown on the little handout, and in the spirit of time, I will not spend any time describing them in detail. Suffice it to say that, of course, we would start with the programs that we imagine would be in high demand in that region, including business degrees, psychology degrees, education degrees, and other high demand degrees. But the goal would be to have a campus that had a lot of variety, a lot of opportunities for the students, and also one of the consequences of that is to be an intellectual center for that region with all of the activities that a reasonably significant campus would bring, and also community activities that would be housed there.
Dr. Frost, let me interrupt you for a minute just for the benefit of the other board members. I think it's on the 14th of June. You'll be appearing before the Academic Affairs Committee.
That's right.
to really go in depth in terms of what kind of academic program you would be proposing at that campus, and that's not really the role of our committee other than to have an overview of that today. We're strictly looking at the capital improvement issue.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one other thing then on the administration of that campus, and the financing of it. This would be, as I mentioned, construed to be a branch campus. It would have, in the present thinking, a campus dean to run it. The faculty members that would be hired there would be hired through the departments on the University of Houston campus, and all of the administrative services would, library, IT, etc., would be provided via the University of Houston campus and as an additional activity of those on our campus. With respect to the facility, as one reason why we are not on your agenda is that, as the chairman indicated, this opportunity came to us quite recently. The chairman, Jay Gouge, the president of UH and chancellor of the system, some other members of our organization met with some community people in Northwest Houston. They expressed a strong desire for the University of Houston to increase its footprint out there. The president, I was not at that meeting, so this may be getting to the point of myth already, but the president said to them that in order to do that, we would need a facility. A short time later, this was less than approximately a month ago, a short time later, my understanding is that Judge Eccles contacted our chairman, Mr. Hermes, indicated that he was aware of a facility, and it is the facility that is indicated on the separate color map that you've been given, a compact computer site that is owned by Hewlett-Packard now. It's not quite vacant, but it is mostly vacant at this point. But it is a good piece of property with respect to the shape of the buildings that are there. In brief, there are 3 office buildings, each of approximately 100,000 gross square feet. There are 4 parking decks there that hold a total of approximately 1,500 cars. There is an additional facility called the manufacturing building, which is a huge structure which has offices along one side, what would be the top of it, as you're looking at that map, the upper right part. The rest of it is a light manufacturing warehouse facility, but in very good shape. It's just a huge area. I've said to myself, it's not clear to me Roger Clemens could throw a baseball from one end of that thing to the other. And gives us, would give an academic unit a great opportunity to structure that interior space for many, many kinds of activities. It's on approximately 46 acres of land, and it adjoins about 100 acres of land that is owned by the county that's in a floodplain, but that would give us possible opportunities for auxiliary activities that would be adjacent to this. So this piece of property became available to the University of Houston at a very competitive price. Shall I say it? Yeah. Approximately $35 million for all the land and the buildings. There's something in the neighborhood of 500,000 square feet of cooled space in this facility. We in academic affairs took a look at it. Certainly could see many possibilities. Just on the IT side, for example, one of the buildings has a raised floor that they had something like their server farms in. This could be a tremendous IT facility for us. Indeed, we might move some of our on-campus IT facilities to such a location should this go through. One of the buildings has a cafeteria that appears to be quite close to being in working order, and so on. It is in a word, a tremendous space in this region, and what the planners in our institution feel is right in the heart of a very large population and in the growth node, one of the major growth nodes in the region and indeed in the state. And so what we plan to do is to, as you said, Mr. Chairman, to come next week, describe the academic programs in more detail, and I might mention one other thing relevant to this group. We've put a little business pro forma on the sheet that we have handed out to you, which we believe incorporates rather conservative projections with respect to student growth, although it would be aggressive relative to most of the MITSE sites that the University of Houston has been involved with. We feel that with the cooperation of the North Harris Montgomery Community College colleges and an aggressive marketing campaign and the support of the community, which we believe we will have a great deal of, that we can get the enrollment there on a pretty quick timetable. We do recognize that there are significant upfront costs. This is a bold move on the part of an institution that doesn't have a lot of spare money. The way that we would propose to finance the beginning costs would be very much to go to the community and look for some significant gifts. Some activities along those lines have been started, and also we certainly would not use all of that space or anywhere near it in the foreseeable future for our activities, and so we would anticipate leasing space to hopefully cognate activities in our community. Indeed, it hasn't failed to occur to us that some kind of research park-like activities that would coordinate with some of the business growth in that area they might find that to be an interesting co-location opportunity themselves. So in our business plan, some of the costs, the ongoing costs and the upfront costs, we will work to offset by these activities. In brief, Mr. Chairman, that's the plan. I regret that we can't have a discourse about this at this time. We certainly look forward, however, to getting any feedback that you and your commission members and the staff would care to give us on this plan.
Thank you, Dr. Foss. As I mentioned, this is not agendized, and so this is part of my chairman's report, and appreciate you being here, and Mr. Hermes, thank you for being here and bringing this to our attention, and we'll look at it, and staff will look at it, and look forward to working with you, and we'll, I'm sure, have some appropriate questions for you on July the 20th. Okay. Next item is on our agenda. We have 8 projects today. All of them are of the size that this committee is the ultimate approver of the projects. The first project is phase 1 of a request from the University of Texas at Arlington to construct an activities building. John Hall here is, I believe, from UT Arlington to provide an overview of the project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a handout of the PowerPoint presentation as well. Go ahead and go to the first page. The project description is both new construction as well as renovation. New construction totaling about 83,000 square feet that will provide a new fitness center, indoor running track, 2 additional basketball courts, new basketball courts and sand volleyball courts on the exterior of the building, as well as 4 multi-purpose rooms inside the building and additional training and office space for campus rec and our wellness program. Renovation will include about 102,000 existing square feet, which will include the basketball and racquetball courts, the existing locker rooms, the entrances and corridors, as well as the auditorium that's in the activities building. The project budget, construction budget is $23 million. Total project cost is $30 million. That breaks down to $124 a square foot for construction and $162 per square foot for total project cost. And revenue financing system bond proceeds will be issued, debt, which will be repaid over a 30-year period with funding from our campus rec fee. The next page is the project schedule. The project received UT System Board of Regents approval last month. We are here seeking your approval today. We hope to issue the notice to proceed to the contractor in August, and substantial completion for the new construction occurring in August 07, and then substantial completion for the renovation in January 08. I won't go over all of these in detail, but the next page lists the project goals that are outlined in the building program for this project. Certainly looking to create a more engaged student life on our campus. We have well over 4,500 students now residing on campus in residence halls and apartments, and we believe this project to be very important to more fully engage our students in campus life activities. And again, in the interest of time, I won't go over all of the goals that are listed in the program. The project complies with our campus master plan. We are currently in the process of updating our master plan. We've hired Carter and Burgess out of Fort Worth and Air St. Gross out of their Washington, D.C. office, and hope to present our updated campus master plan to the Board of Regents at the November meeting later this year. But certainly the building will have an attractive entrance that will align with the North Bridge. We're creating a new pedestrian mall off of the North Bridge that will lead to the entrance to this building. The building will complement existing buildings on campus with its design, creating a much stronger presence as far as the building edge along West Netterman, which is part of our design guiding principles in our master plan. We're also looking to focus more on sustainability in our design of future buildings. A lot of the gymnasiums that are currently in this building have no windows, so we're going to be opening up the building quite a bit, both internally as well as externally, taking advantage of harvesting daylight in those gymnasiums as part of our sustainability program. Again, I won't go over all of these. These are also contained in the facility program, but from a facility issues perspective, the next page lists the project objectives. I will say from a fire and life safety standpoint, the building is currently not sprinkled. This project will sprinkle the entire building, upgrade the fire detection system, address some ADA accessibility issues. As well as on our deferred maintenance, we have about $1.1 million in deferred maintenance. That's really, the bulk of that is the mechanical system in this building. This building was built in 1976 and has really not gone under any kind of major renovation since its original construction. So we will be replacing a large part of the mechanical system with this project too, and addressing about $1.1 million that's on our accumulated deferred maintenance report currently. Again, this provides you a little bit more of the building history. Built in 1976, currently contains just under 120,000 square feet, space efficiency of about 66%, and I think the other two bullets there I think I've already addressed. So as far as closing the gaps, the next page outlines key points that touches on participation as well as success. And then the last bullet also, our kinesiology program graduate labs are also contained in this building. So to the extent that the expanded and renovated facilities will also further enhance the delivery of those graduate programs from kinesiology, that also then touches on the research and excellence goals of closing the gaps. The next slide is the campus plan. The red arrow that you see on that plan aligns with the north bridge that I was talking about earlier. We'll be creating a pedestrian mall. Part of our master plan moves more and more of the vehicular traffic to the campus edge, creating a more pedestrian-friendly campus, and that is also part of our sustainability goals and objectives. But you'll see that the new pedestrian mall will align with the front entrance, the proposed new front entrance to the activities building, which is located right here. Here's the site plan for the building. What you see in orange is the new construction, which is made up on this first floor of a student lounge area, internet cafe. We're contracting with Starbucks to have a Starbucks store in here, as well as bringing our wellness offices and training facilities and campus rec down here close to the front door. They're currently up on the second floor and not nearly as accessible enough for supporting the programs. New basketball courts, and these are the new basketball and sand volleyball courts that will be on the outside of the building. And here's a more detailed layout of the first floor. Here you can see the multi-purpose rooms. This is the front entrance to the building here on the far right-hand side, or the east side of the building. New basketball courts, new offices for campus rec and wellness. This is the existing locker facilities. They'll be completely renovated. This is the area where kinesiology is. These are existing gyms, and this is the north side of the building. This is where we'll bring quite a bit of daylight into those existing spaces. And this is the second floor. Again, this is the fitness center here on the second floor. Here's the jogging track, and then additional multi-purpose rooms up on the second floor. This is an aerial view of the addition. For those that are familiar with the Arlington campus, this is West Netterman. UT Boulevard runs up here to the north. This is the new entrance, all glass on the second floor, which is where the fitness center will be. Part of this, too, that this colonnade will allow folks to touch this building if they're coming from the north, certainly coming from the east to the main entrance, as well as coming from the south. Another aerial view from the northeast looking back to the southwest. Here's some shots of the existing building. You can see there's very little windows to let natural light into the spaces. Again, this building was built in 1976. This is the north entrance view, and this is a southeast view of the existing building. This is the existing fitness center, and this was actually a picture taken after the spring semester, but this is it's about 9,000 square feet, and it is just packed with students, particularly in the evening hours, even up past midnight. It just stays packed all the time. The new fitness center will be about 2.5 times the size of the existing fitness center. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions that y'all might have.
Before I entertain any questions, I will make a comment that in the material provided by the staff, this project meets all 5 of the coordinating board standards. And I'll open it up for, say again?
Is this incorrect then, the utilization one?
Did I miss one?
That's a guideline across one of the...
Yeah, utilization is guideline, yeah.
It's a guideline, so
That's not one of the standards.
that was going to be my question,
Yeah.
whether it had to be, what kind of weight we put on it. No.
Guideline. We're in the process of reviewing that.
Okay, that's my only question.
Yeah, it's not one of the standards. Susan, you got any comments from the staff perspective? Okay. Any questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Ryder and a second by Ms. Neal. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I'd like to show that I'm abstaining on this vote.
Say again?
I would like to show for the record that I'm going to abstain on the vote.
Okay. Ms. Bricker is abstaining. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries with Ms. Bricker's abstaining. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
it. Good luck. It'll be quite an addition for an opportunity for young men and women at UTA. Our next project, or next 4 projects, are from the University of Texas MD Anderson. Did I miss one? Yeah, MD Anderson Cancer Center. And Susan Lepka is here today representing MD Anderson. Susan?
Good morning.
Morning.
Given your difficulty in meeting the last 6 months, do you know that today is the anniversary of Tropical Storm Allison?
Thank you. It didn't hit Texas yet.
The first of the projects I want to present to you is, we've titled it the Braeswood Parking Garage. This building, it's a parking garage, 2,400 cars, is really being built to support the faculty and staff at MD Anderson as well as our patients and visitors. The major occupant of this will be the Faculty Center Tower, which is a project you've previously approved. We also have on our CIP to expand the Rotary House and anticipate starting that construction within the next 18 months. We're displacing valet services that's on a surface lot where we're putting the garage, so we need to incorporate them back in, as well as we'll be providing 300 lease spaces to UT Health Science Center. The project, the building itself is about 800,000 square feet, 2,400 cars in it, 9 levels. It is designed with a modified speed ramp, and I'll show you an example of that just to have ease of getting in and out of the garage, given kind of some of the peak times from 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evening. All of the design of the garage is a flat floor. We're looking to the future. Next to this building site on our master plan is a future building for patient care, so we designed it with that thought in mind, that the occupants might convert. So we went to a flat floor design rather than having the majority of the parking on a ramp, which is certainly much easier for our patient population. And it's nice for the staff. We're not dinging doors nearly as much. And it will be a cast-in-place garage. This just shows you the site along Holcomb. You'll see on the Braeswood is where this garage is. It's a very large box, as you can see. Kind of drilling down the details on the next slide. There's the future building that I mentioned. We're also planning that this garage could have 2 future bridge connections, one to connect that future occupied building, as well as to be able to get across the street into the Rotary House and into the rest of the bridge system for the campus, as well as at the south end of the garage to get across the street at an intersection there, and that leads right into the Faculty Center past that. This is the modified speed ramp that you can see, so that as you come in, you can move quite quickly to 3 to 4 floors at a time without having to rotate on each of the levels looking for parking spaces. So we think that the staff will be happier with that design. And it's a typical precast garage. There'll be metal panels on the end, which you see the elevator tower there. 2 of the stairwells will be open aired. 2 of the stairwells will be enclosed to meet fire safety code. And then the the Anderson signature with the pink precast. So this is a view coming up from Pressler. The Faculty Center you can't see would be on the left-hand side, just down the street. And then this is coming up from the northeast toward the campus. And on the Bayou side, we elected to leave part of the structure open with just a wire mesh, and that really was kind of a cost measure there, since there's only a view to the Bayou. Total project cost are $43.5 million. It's $18.125 million. It is being built over a detention pond, which has escalated the cost somewhat. A lot of the detention that we have for the previous buildings on campus on our legacy site are accommodated in that area. And funding sources are hospital revenues and revenue bonds. We anticipate starting construction in October, completing in May of '08, which is in conjunction with the first phase of the Faculty Center that's opening in June, and move cars into that garage in June. Questions?
This first phase. Any questions or comments? Any staff input? The cost on the $18,000 per space appears to be within our range, right? It's also, this project meets all 5 standards of the coordinating board. Any comments or questions? Chair will entertain a motion. Second. Motion by Mr. Foster, second by Mr. Ransom. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Adams,
I'm sorry.
go ahead and show me abstaining on all of the votes of construction. I'll try to get your attention.
I'm sorry.
Just show that I'm abstaining on these votes on construction.
On these four?
Excuse me?
On any of the construction projects?
Any construction.
Okay.
My husband's an architect,
I'm aware of that,
and
yeah.
I do not know who the architect is for any of these, and so therefore I'm abstaining.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll let the record so reflect. The second MD Anderson project is stage 2 of a renovation of project for the South Campus Vivarium. Now, it seems like we keep building vivariums.
That's what you said to me about 3 months ago.
I know that.
Okay, this is, I presented this project to you on the last cycle, and it was taking advantage of some warehouse space that we had that was adjacent to an existing vivarium on our South Campus. And as we've expanded on that campus with a number of research buildings in the UT Research Park, and we have one that we'll bring to you on the next cycle, and a fourth one we've just gotten tuition revenue bonds for, so you'll be seeing me also again in the next year on that project. So with that expanded facility, we had built the original warehouse and the addition to it with shell space to build out for small animal housing, primarily rodents. This will also allow us for swing space. It's on a party wall with an existing vivarium that's about 30 years old, and we'll have the opportunity also to renovate then as part of this project. That's kind of the 5th phase to it. And we're going to relocate a lot of equipment between the 2 vivariums to co-join those. Project, as I mentioned, this first stage was to convert the warehouse and build out part of that animal housing, and you approved that at this committee in December and the full board in January. And the second phase that I'm bringing back to you is a little over 22,000 square feet to build out, again, primarily for animal housing, office space, locker rooms for the staff, and some of the cage wash equipment, and this is in this project. This is our South Campus, and you can see the research that's expanding out there. SCRB 1 and 2 were recently opened within the last 2 years on that campus. We've opened proton therapy. Smith Research Building has been operating out there for about 20 plus years, and then we've got 2 more buildings in the works, so you can kind of see where we've got the need to start adding more animal facilities. Right now, those animals are transported from our main campus in a large vivarium that's there, 160,000 mouse house, down to this campus. So this will facilitate the researchers within this campus not having to go the travel time or having to go back to work in that vivarium.
How many mice will fit in this one?
I have that detail. I apologize. I don't recall off the top of my head. Depends what size they are. So this just highlights in the Smith Research Building, which was on a party wall with our physical plant building, showing you the highlighted area there is the area that's being renovated. The new mechanical room that was added onto that you approved the last time. This is as you saw, that there's a lot of shell space in the existing vivarium in that building. The blue represents office space. The animal housing is in the purple, and vivarium support, and that's a lot of the cleaning and cage feed material is there, as well as all the staff locker rooms. And then the white was all the shell space, gray is in the mechanical. The next slide shows you all of the areas that 22,000 square feet we're building out in this, and it primarily is office, rework of the existing vivarium, and then completing all of the animal holding rooms. So stage 1 cost was $25 million. This second phase of this is $20 million. So in total, the project building out the entire vivarium is $45 million. Our construction cost was $431 a square foot, and it's being funded from hospital revenue. And our schedule, substantial completion in this building is anticipated in November. There's a lot of test colony and cleaning that you have to do before you can occupy it with the mice. We'll move the mice over from the existing vivarium into this space, as well as some expansion, then go back and renovate the Smith Research Building, the old vivarium that's there, and complete everything in November. Again, go through the colony testing for that renovated vivarium space and be fully operational by February of '09. Any questions?
Have any comments?
No, they brought this to.
I just wanted,
Sure.
on the briefing sheet, it shows the source of funds as other local funds.
That's hospital revenues for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Again, this project meets all 5 of the coordinating board standards. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Neal, a second by Mr. Ransom. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, our next project is the 3rd project from MD Anderson, and this is a construction project at the Bastrop facility.
So now this is a project that's going to deal with owl and squirrel monkeys and research labs. Bastrop is part of our Smithville campus called Science Park that's between Smithville and Bastrop. The project really was to create animal holding areas for primate research, basic research labs. We have pathology labs and other buildings that we want to bring to this building. They're about a 25-year-old vintage, so they require an extensive rehab. So we've gone through that evaluation to determine that we'd like to move them into this building would be much more cost effective, and then to create administrative space for all the programs that are expanding. We've recruited Dr. Abey from the University of Alabama, and he's bringing the squirrel and owl monkeys that are in this project with him, as well as quite a bit of grant funding. $6 million of this is coming from grant funding. Alrighty, stage 1, which you had previously approved at this committee meeting, was in December, and stage 2 then begins to build out a lot of, we've created the building, the shell and core, and then this creates about 75,000 square feet of completing the labs and the rest of the animal holding areas. This is our, go ahead. The Bastrop campus site. What's highlighted in the blue is where the building is proposed. Most of the development, as you can see, is to the upper right-hand part of the screen, and we're just moving down the campus road there for the expansion. There's a lot of primate housing that's out here with the domes, and a lot of rhesus monkeys are on this campus. So the squirrel and owl monkeys will be new to this program. And this is the building exterior that we showed you last time. It's primarily metal and stone. Lots of glass. This is the full build-out. Stage 1's highlighted in the 2 yellow areas there, which were the squirrel monkeys and some of the GLP labs to support that, and then the rest of the areas are what are being built out in the 75,000 square feet. Up in the green there is where the pathology labs will be. The blue, there's a BSL-3 lab going into this because we will have GLP facilities, and then vivarium support and building support. So overall, this phase is $19 million, bringing up the project to $30 million construction cost at $400 a square foot, and the source of funds was hospital revenue.
Okay. Any staff comments? Okay. This is a project that meets all 5 standards of the coordinating board. Any questions or comments?
I just had
Sure.
for information. Are you out of Houston doing research anywhere else besides Bastrop?
At Bastrop and Smithville, that's it. Other than this, there's clinical research and trials going on all over the country with
Sure, but for on-site local.
Yes.
Interesting. How long have you been there?
Smithville and Bastrop have been there about 30 years.
Really? That was there.
I did.
Thank you. I was just curious.
The monkeys are quiet down there. Nobody knows they're there.
They're very fascinating.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
Mr. Foster makes a motion to approve. Ms. Neal seconds it. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Next item is also a 4th project from MD Anderson. This is a second reapproval because cost increases, and this is construction of a watertight barrier to mitigate the potential flood hazard.
Probably not the most exciting project to talk about today, but certainly very important to us. This FEMA project, we've been working with FEMA, and the idea of it was really to create and protect the exterior of the campus so that we could prevent flooding within that. That meant creating a series of walls using building structure as well as creating floodgates that would prevent that. In addition to that is adding backflow devices throughout the sanitary and storm system, because you get this surge within those systems that can come back up through the drains. So also having the ability to essentially plug those off during that kind of an event when you get that kind of pressure, head pressure coming in. Most of the funding of this project has come from FEMA with 75% and 25% matching funds from the institution, so it's been very advantageous to us. Let me go on to the next slide. So we've got a lot of concrete wall that's around the complex at the north building. It brought up the elevation to 48 feet, which is at the 500-year floodplain. There are 21 bayonet-type doors, and these doors are really very interesting because they will float up on their own in the event of an emergency. We've also have hydraulic lifts on them so that if we want to pull those gates up in advance of a flood, we can do that. But we really tried to find systems that didn't require as much staff intensity, because it seems that floods come at midnight when you're not at full staff. There are also 15 swing-type panel gates in other openings of that. A lot of new sump pumps were installed behind the wall because there will be some flooding in that area just from the rain that's there, so we're pumping that out over the wall. And then we had to restore landscape and irrigation systems as we built the wall. This is kind of to show you what it looked like during the construction. We made the decision during the construction that at our primary public entrances that just having a concrete wall was probably not the best decision, to try to make it a little more friendly to patients and our visitors. So if we go to the next slide, show you with those areas have a granite face on them at the public entrances, primarily along Bay Street, which has the entrance to the hospital as well as to the Clark Clinic, all of our clinics on that side of the street. What you can see in the driveway is the white line that goes across that. Those are those passive flood doors that just float up with that. So they're really unobtrusive, but they're in the event that you need those. So our original budget was $12 million. We ultimately are at 13.7. Two drivers for this were putting the vinyl cladding on, and also with having a 16-year-old or 60-year-old building, we found some pipes we didn't know about that weren't on any drawings or required. It's some more devices for backflow prevention. So we're scheduled to complete this project in total in July, and that's the last of the backflow devices going on there this year. So we're very happy to meet the hurricane season this year.
Will this be the last project you have as far as flood control issues?
There's a new cycle coming up for FEMA, and we are going to apply.
Okay. For the new members, this flooded when? What year was that?
7 years ago.
7 years ago, yeah.
And the only thing, quite frankly, that Anderson didn't go through a lot of damage was because we had a 2-story hole in the ground for the basic research building, and that was all of the vivarium space. So that flooded as it was coming down Morrison. We took on 500 million gallons of water. Yeah. So there were some bulldozers and other equipment down in that hole that didn't survive.
Any staff comments? No. 3 of the 5 standards are applicable to this project, and this project meets those 3 standards. Any board members have questions or comments? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Ryder moved and Ms. Neal seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good summer.
Yeah, you do the same. Okay, our next project is from the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston, seeking reapproval for the construction and renovation of the University Plaza, and Richard Moore, I believe, is here to present that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I attempted to get everything that I hope y'all might need to know into one slide, so if y'all need any additional information, I will pass around 3 color copies that put this project a little bit in perspective. What we're asking asking today is to basically increase the project scope and for which we'll use gift funds. Let me explain a little bit about the project to begin with. The project is a 2-story parking garage that sits at what we want to be the main arrival point for the clinical facilities at UTMB. The reason the overall project, which is the basic project, is a $25 million project, is so expensive is that we've replaced and added all of the infrastructure, and it goes around this road that's in here, that's necessary to be able to develop this whole side of the East Campus. So our long-term goal is to replace all of these buildings here. We project and size the infrastructure for an additional 2 to 3 million gross square foot of space. And so there's a lot of chilled water pipes, sewer, electrical, data services, and the like that have been installed along with this project. What we're here today to do is to ask you to allow us to, when we designed the project, we decided to make it a pretty plain vanilla project, but allow the development folks and charge the development folks with finding gift money for amenities and the like, and they've been successful. And so we'd like to get your approval to increase the amount by about $2.36 million of gift money. That gift money will be used to do some additional landscaping along here. They'll be used to embellish some of the places where people will enter and exit the garage, several levels here, put seating there, and to improve the lighting and to put nicer lighting, basically. There's also a series of trellises that'll be done around the top of the campus, along with plant material, and then finally there's a water feature that'll be designed right in this place here. And then we've also decided to ask, and we've received gift money to improve from concrete to brick pavers around the side of the garage. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any comments from staff? No. Any questions or comments from the board? Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
Foster made a motion to approve. Mr. Ransom made a motion, or seconded the motion. Again, this project meets all 5 standards of the board. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Okay, our next project is the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center at Dallas. This is a phase 1 built structure, and this phase is to finish out 2 floors. And Kirby, is it Vale? Vale, I apologize, is here to provide the overview.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. The project that you have before you today was originally approved by the coordinating board in July of 2005 as the Biosafety Level 3 laboratory. Yeah, just hold on the slides there for a second. That project was a 76,000 square foot 4-story building that had 2 floors of vivarium space finished out and left 2 floors of space unfinished. So what we're asking today is for approval of what's termed phase 2, which is the completion of those 2 originally unfinished floors. We're also asking that the name of the entire project be changed from Biosafety Level 3 Laboratory to Laboratory Research and Support Building. We haven't changed the location of the building. It's still here on the southeastern corner of our South Campus. Everything that you see in yellow is the property owned by UT Southwestern as a part of a sort of a multi-campus facility. As you can see, our yellow lines are sort of growing together so that hopefully eventually we'll have one big yellow line around the entire circumference. Okay, the next slide, please. This is the site plan showing that the building will tie into an existing laboratory building on all 4 of the floors. Again, I said it's located at the southeastern corner of our campus at an entrance there at Medical Center Drive. Next slide, please. I've got two artist renderings of the building. This building is designed by Perkins and Will. The construction manager is McCarthy. Next slide, please. This is just another view from Medical Center Drive. That's the end of my show, if you have questions.
Okay. Staff, any comments? No. Okay. Again, this project also meets all 5 standards of the coordinating board. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Chair, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Ransom made a motion to approve. Ms. Neal seconded that motion. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I offer a editorial comment?
Sure.
Go Mads.
I would go with that. I second that motion. I needed to bring some of my friends from San Antonio a cap, but they seem to have presented me one 2 out of the last 3 years. So, our last project today is from Texas State University, San Marcos, for approval to construct the second phase of the Student Rec Center. Peter Graves and Bill Nance, I believe, are here to present on this project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Nance, Vice President for Finance and Support Services at Texas State. Peter Graves with our System Office, Associate Vice Chancellor, is here. A couple of other folks I'd like to introduce. Dr. Joanne Smith is our Vice President for Student Affairs. Student Recreation reports to Dr. Smith, so glad to have her here. And then Mr. Coyle Bueller is our Director of Facilities Planning, Design, and Construction at Texas State. And they are here to jump up, say, no, Nance, that's wrong if I misspeak, so I hope we don't have to do that. This is an addition to our Student Recreation Center. The existing Student Rec Center was built in 1992. We've given you a campus map from our 2006-2015 Campus Master Plan, which was approved by our board last May. You can see the Student Recreation Center we've circled there on the west side of the campus. The existing center is 78,000 square feet, as I mentioned, built in 1992. It wasn't too long after that building was open that students began to discuss the need for an addition. It's heavily used. In fact, this addition is 94,000 square feet, larger than the original Student Rec Center. Got a site plan here. The darker area is the existing Student Rec Center. Its entrance is on the east side there along our campus mall. With the addition, you can see that we will be creating a new entrance off of Academy and Sesame Street. Sesame is a main boundary street for the campus to the north. I'd add that the students voted for the fee referendum to finance this addition in the fall of 2004. The increased fee was approved by our board in November of 2005 when Marmon Mock Architects of San Antonio were appointed to design the addition to the Student Rec Center. The first floor, and this also involves a modest renovation of the existing Student Recreation Center. We'll be renovating about 13,000 square feet of the 78,000. In the addition, you can see on the first floor, in addition to the new entrance, students are very, very interested in a rock climbing wall. And I'm sure that I'm not going to participate in that activity, but it seems to be something very popular with students today. Larger weight rooms and training rooms there on the first floor. And the original building did not include a pool. That is also high on the students' list with this addition. We have both a lap pool and a leisure pool on the first floor. Go ahead to the second floor. We've got courts, basketball, volleyball courts running north and south there. They can also be turned east-west and be indoor soccer fields with additional group exercise studios. And then also you see on the east side or the right-hand side of the slide additional office space and exercise space that's going to be renovated in the existing student recreation center. One of the things that is a big part of our 2006-2015 campus master plan is an attempt to return to the Spanish colonial architecture that predominated on our campus in buildings built up to about 1960. Ms. Flack will remember in the core of the campus the red tile roofs and the stucco and arches, and we got away from that in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and went to more blocky, beige, brick, going for space. I mean, we needed
Ugly.
space.
Ugly.
It's in the eye of the beholder. But a big part, as I said, of our new campus master plan is attempting to return as much as we can. It's very expensive to build the pure Spanish colonial type buildings today, so we're trying to ask our architects to evoke that style while, because of this, the beige brick predominates, utilize both. And so what we've done here to the right-hand side of that top elevation is the new addition, and you can see the arches, and there will be red tile roofs. To the left is the existing facility that is pretty much just a flat wall, solid wall of beige brick that it adds to the cost, but we think it's important to do is to add some feature to break that up and blend more with the addition. And then the second in the middle elevation is from the north, and you can see the arches and the style that we're trying to create there. And then the bottom one is on the south side. It's not as visible from perimeter streets and roads, so we're not doing as much on that end. You might flip to the next one. You can see this is Sessom Drive in the lower right-hand corner, so you sort of have a focal point there as Sessom intersects Academy Drive, and we've created a grand entrance there, so you can see what we're trying to do with the architecture. And then this is on the north side. The addition will be built on what is now the parking lot for the existing student recreation center. Not a part of this project, but we'll be bringing it to you probably later this summer, is a parking garage just it would be off to the right of this slide to replace that parking and increase parking on the west campus, but that's another project that you'll see later. And I believe that completes my presentation. Our timeline, we will be selling Texas State University System revenue financing system bonds financed by the increase in the student recreation fee. We're looking at probably having that bond sale at our November board meeting. So that means we'll be going to the bond review board, either their August or October meeting for their approval. Desire is to start construction this fall and have it open by the fall of 2008. The increased student fee will not go into effect until the building is open in the fall of 2008. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Nance, can you and Mr. Ellicott explain to me the difference between Spanish Colonial and Spanish Renaissance?
Probably not on my part. Mr. Bueller's an architect.
Well, Texas Tech is Spanish Renaissance, am I correct? Okay. And this is Spanish Colonial, okay.
More detail for Spanish Renaissance.
Okay.
Hard to give them in my sympathy.
And we probably couldn't afford Spanish Renaissance, so we went to Spanish Colonial.
Well, I commend you on your effort to design your campus I think that is, as I've said, and Mike knows this, that Texas Tech is, I think, a special place in terms of what they've done out there in terms of design of facilities. And I think that enhances the experience of young men and women that attend those campuses and take partake in what's going on there. So
I need to thank Texas Tech, because during our master planning process, as we were presenting several charrettes around campus and presenting this idea, we stole mightily photos of the Texas Tech campus as we were showing people what we wanted to try to
you're going to have to figure out a fee schedule there to Mike. Any comments from the staff on this project? Okay.
Good idea.
This project does meet all 5 standards of the coordinating board. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Neal. Do I have a second by Mr. Foster? Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Nance. Appreciate it. Okay, that completes the projects. However, we have a special presentation, and our good friend Dr. Ann Stewart is here today, and she wants to give us an overall vision, I believe her vision, of Texas Women University's campus.
Well, I always appreciate coming here. You know you're one of my favorite committees. And it's also, I want to repeat the process that we did for our Houston campus. What we did at that point is travel around with you from time to time over a couple of years and keep you informed of what progress we made on a vision that we had. And so let me show you where we are in that. If you haven't looked at your mail lately, we also have a copy of this.
Do.
But this is our Houston campus, 10-story Institute of Health Sciences that will open on November 9th of this year. You're all invited to that opening, and we hope that you're there. It's a splendid building, both in teaching facilities and in presentation and what it adds. It will allow us to double enrollment in Houston. And of course, we now educate more healthcare professionals than any other institution in the state. And so this will allow us to continue in our tradition of nursing and OT and PT. And it is a gift to the state of Texas. It cost, we raised, to begin with, $37.5 million. We've now surpassed $40 million. And all of that is private money, which we then can turn over to you, Neil, with the keys later at no cost to this.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart.
Now I want to come back and do the same thing in Dallas. And I think I can. I prove to you that if we say we think we can do this, we usually perform. This is a vision that is a little more complicated. We have 2 campuses in Dallas, one at Presbyterian Hospital and one at the Parkland Hospital site. For economies of operation, we are proposing, and we'll come back and talk to you about this, but this is just point of information and vision. I don't want to get this vision funded and then have you say, I didn't know you were doing that, or we don't like what you're doing. I want you to love what I'm doing, so that when we come for approval, you're already with me. We're going to close Presbyterian when we have this built, and therefore we're working with Presbyterian at this point for a lease back. We lease that land. We have about 64 more years on that lease. It's a beautiful campus. Presbyterian is tremendously interested in the use of it for their own needs. And that would give us some funding as they buy out that lease, if we can finish this negotiation. We then would come over to Parkland and renovate an educational building that we have, where we do our nursing education program. OT and PT is over at Presbyterian. And we would bring all of the disciplines, because we know that what the new health professional of the future must be is a patient care practitioner that can cross the disciplines in team patient care delivery. And so it makes no sense, actually, to have us a divided campus. We would bring everything into the Parkland campus, double our space, or have 17,000 extra square footage to us. It would allow us to renovate that building that we have, build a parking garage, because parking is very tight on that Southwestern medical district, as you can imagine. Many of our students are night students, and therefore they are walking distances to parking now, which is not the safest thing in the world for them to do. We would build a new tower where we now have a residential facility that is mothballed, and it would cost, well, who knows what it would cost. Every time I get a new figure, it's so many million more. But today's cost would be about $32 million, and I have about a third of it raised. I have a ways to go.
I'm quite confident you'll get there.
Well, it's not easy.
I know. Well, I understand.
I'll pay the checks. But there are a couple of things that I think you are interested in. If you look at this page on this little brochure, I think that it is interesting to you as you look at your closing the gaps and also serving the medical needs of this state. We have grown 43% in the last 4 years, so we are a huge growth institution. The largest, of course, primarily for women's institution in the nation. 92% women. Look at that minority enrollment, which is 36, enviable by the state. Graduate school enrollment, and why is that important? Because we do PhD programs in nursing and OT and PT, and that means we're graduating the faculty in these disciplines, and the faculty is what we're needing in order to increase the number of graduates that we can have who would serve patient care. And of course, 42% of our 12,000 population is in healthcare. So you can see that the facilities in Houston and in Dallas have to do with serving the citizens of Texas and in making better health care available. Our brag points on the next page, when we talk about excellence in your closing the gaps matrix, we're very proud of the fact of our ratings in U.S. News and World Report, being in the top 10, of course, in occupational therapy. Also the PhD program. And the next page, the physical therapy, again in the top 10. We have a stroke center there that is doing amazing recovery work on neurological stroke situations. And what I think you last want to know is that at our Dallas campus alone, we have about 925 students enrolled. Now that's at Parkland alone. And we are graduating last time 208. So if you look at, you want us to get them out in 4 years. I'm talking about just baccalaureate graduates. We're doing an excellent job of moving them through the program, not in 6 and 8 and 9 years, but in 4. And that minority enrollment in healthcare is 36%. And the last, if you don't believe me, at this point, my last stat that I want to leave you with is that in Dallas, for last fall, at the baccalaureate program, we had at the BS level 900 approximate students who applied. They were all qualified. That was a group that had been vetted and could have been accepted. We could accept 127 because of facilities and because of faculty. And the grade point average of the class that was accepted was 3.8. Think of all the 3.5s we could not admit, and the 3.4s and 2s who would have been excellent health educators and service people to the citizens. This is a facility most needed. I said I can do it I told my regents I could do it in 2 years. We'll see.
Dr. Stewart, you don't know this, but I have a niece who graduated from the Parkland facility a year ago, and she and I have talked about what was there in the education. She had a 4.0 in biomedical science from Texas A&M, before she entered that program, could have gone anywhere in the country, and shows your institution over a number of them, and has not been disappointed, obviously.
So pleased to hear that.
It's a great opportunity for primarily young ladies, but men and women. But it's certainly a facility that, in talking to my niece, that from her experience being there, that it would enhance even the opportunity, expand the opportunity, obviously beyond the 125 you're talking about.
Yes. And Southwestern Medical District and Southwestern, Dr. Wildenthal is an advocate of this and a supporter of this, because they are so dominant in that area.
Yep.
And so we have their endorsement. So we want you to know about it. We'll be back in a year and give you, if you'll allow us, Mr. Chairman, to give you a progress report.
Absolutely.
And we hope to be back with plans and asking to break ground in 2008.
I would anticipate you would be here. Thank you, Dr. Stewart. This is an information item only, and thank you for your leadership and what you do for Texas Women's University and the opportunity for those young men and women. Okay, the next item on our agenda is to deal with the issue of accountability. And before we get into community colleges, I want to, if we could, as part of my chairman's report, ask for update on where we are on university colleges. As you'll recall, January of '04, the governor issued an executive order to develop an accountability system that only applied to universities and colleges, and to do that by December of '04. And that charge went to the coordinating board to work with the institutions to do that. That was accomplished in grand fashion with a great deal of input from institutions. Heard a number of comments from people who have accessed our website to look at that accountability system. Not only students, but parents and so forth. They're looking at comparisons of what's happening at various institutions. So it is having an impact, and obviously we want to move forward with the community colleges. Before we get, though, to community colleges, I know we committed that we would continue to look at the system and how it was working, and sort of, if you would, David and Susan, give us just a brief update about where we are in terms of college and universities update.
Thank you. We have updated the accountability website with the fall 2005 information. We have added a little bit. We've also been working with the LBB to align the accountability performance measures with the LBB performance measures, so that the institutions, we're generating most of the information. That way it will keep the institutions from double reporting. The LBB can get their information from us, or we can get it from them. And that to help reduce the reporting burden on the institutions. That's another one of our items that we're working on. Actually we have scheduled all during July, it looks like 2 a week, meetings with the universities, the groups of the universities, to look at where they can make some improvements, how they can help each other, and how we can use the groups, what types of modifications they would want to make to the accountability system for the use of it, to try and make it easier. This past year, one of the main things, and y'all heard about it earlier, is we did add the out-of-state peers for each of the groups. And so we'll be looking a little bit further into that. One of the things we also want to talk to the groups about is to look at value added. Try to get at how, when the students are coming into an institution, some institutions have quite a few of their students that need developmental ed, and then you have UTN-A&M on the other end that have very few students that need developmental ed. And so we're trying to get at how much additional information they're able to help the students, how they are able to help the students. We have a lot of focus on the graduation rates, and we had some discussions last time, and we hope to have even more discussion on how they can help each other with different programs they're working on to improve graduation rates across the state. And so,
a couple of other things that Susan has on that schedule is there's a commitment. Some of you may not know that among the key measures, each group set specific targets for 10 of those measures. And at this next round of meetings, they will be reviewing those measures again. The idea was that they would be reviewed and set again prior to each legislative session. So in effect, they're rolling targets. They will continue to have targets that move out and evaluate those. Another aspect is we had made a commitment to review the groupings. Right. So there'll be discussions of groupings and how institutions may have changed at the discussions of those meetings. And I believe, remind me if I'm wrong here, Susan, but I believe the idea was to get their ideas, and if there's some emergence in terms of wanting to go a different direction, then a group will be formed across those groups to come up with an idea for different groupings. At this point, it will be primarily, do they still fit according to their background?
And our commitment when we adopted the accountability system is that we would look at that every 2 years. That those groupings were not in concrete. They were institutions aspired to move up into a different group. They certainly had that ability to do that, and we would look at that every 2 years. So.
The commissioner had a phrase I have tattooed somewhere on my body that they're neither permanent nor prescriptive.
Correct. Correct. They are that.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one question? I know when we originally developed the accountability system, one of our, one of the desired outcomes was that the institutions would really use this as an effective tool for best practices. And have we seen evidence of that where it's being used in that regard, where people are leveraging off what they're seeing done and other institutions are being done exceptionally well in these peer group discussions?
Unfortunately, we haven't seen as much of that as we would like. We have, UT system is also focusing on graduation rates as one of their main focuses, and we do have the person who is leading that for the UT system is going to be working with some of the groups now to try to get that jump started. But some of the things that they're working on are included in that, and they have been, from what I understand, kind of talking to each other, but not necessarily through the accountability groups. And that is one of the areas that we're going to work on this time, trying to get that set up a little bit better.
Yeah, Gary Hansen from the UT system made a presentation at A&M, I guess last December. At some point I saw it, and he has some interesting analysis that we thought would be useful to share with the other groups. And they had initial enthusiasm, but as you know, people go back to their campuses and they're distracted. So we've had a number of staff discussions lately about how to kickstart that more. We need to work harder on that piece of it.
And Mr. Wright, that is a great question, because that's one of my pet peeves, is that we've not, being a coordinating board and identifying best practices, that to me is one of our obligations, to be sure that those are communicated and people understand what those best practices are, so that they can take advantage of them, and they've really not done that as well as I think they ought to do. I think these discussions that Susan is beginning and getting the groups together, hopefully we can enhance some of those discussions on best practices that are out there. I mean, that's what the Star Awards are all about, is identifying those best practices, and it's unfortunate that some people just will not take advantage. To me, why reinvent the wheel when you see something that's been successful somewhere else, that you have a similar mission and you have a similar student population that you might want to try, and we've just not had as much of that as we need to. But Commissioner, thoughts?
Well, I think your point is a critical one. I think there's been a significant improvement in the willingness of institutions to take a look at what's going on at other campuses and emulate those things that might be successful on their own campuses. You'll recall that one of the recommendations we've made in terms of our board meetings is to highlight, put more of a spotlight on best practices, so that when we have our board meetings and there's a large audience of representatives from different campuses, they'll get firsthand exposure to best practices. That presentation at our last board meeting on P16 practices was a step in that direction, and we're going to do more of that. And at every board meeting, we're going to have a presentation by campus representatives which represent the best kind of activity that we know about going on in the state. So we're very much aware of the need to make sure that people have information across the state about what particular campuses are doing very well.
Thank you.
All right, very good. That brings us to the agenda item 2D, Community College Accountability System, and this was not part of the governor's executive order to include the community colleges. However, the coordinating board directed the staff to work with the community colleges to develop that plan, and I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Brown.
Okay. The staff has been working with the community colleges and the Community College Association quite a bit this past year, and we think we have measures that everybody has agreed to. And in addition to that, because there are 50 community college districts, it is very hard to get, and they all have the same mission that is prescribed in statute. It is very hard to get much accomplished when you have that many people on a single committee. So we had broken them out into different groups. We have since worked with the Community College Association and come up with different groups that we have gotten their agreement on. One of the big things that we worked with the community college on is the fact that they did not feel that the measures that we had originally selected demonstrated the entire mission of the community colleges. It didn't seem to them to work with the amount of part-time students and that sort of thing. We've now gotten an agreement on those measures, and we've been working with the LBB, and we're in the process of having the accountability measures match their performance measures for the LBB. That is going to be a longer-term process because their performance measures are in statute, but the LBB is going to work with their committee to get the measures changed to match what we have and what has been agreed on with the community colleges. Some of the measures that are different from the university measures include an annual unduplicated enrollment. University students tend to be more quote-unquote traditional. They go from fall to spring and that sort of thing. Community colleges, in the spring, they only have approximately 50% of the same students. They have a lot more part-time students. They have a lot more workforce. So we've incorporated some of that into the accountability system so that we can track not just their traditional full-time students, but also their part-time students and look at how they're doing in that. They are working on, a lot of the community colleges are having something they call mini-mesters, and those are 5-week courses, and they have just gotten started on that, but they seem to be actually retaining students at a much higher rate when they provide them with mini-mesters, and they take one course at a time, and it's a very intense course. And they'll have them take one course and then maybe drop out for 5 weeks, or stop out for 5 weeks and then take another mini-mester. And so we'll be working on that. Like I said, that is something very new, and the institution that is doing that is very excited about it and are seeing a lot of good results, but they don't have a long enough time period to really say that that's going to be a best practice. But we did have a lot of sharing with the community college groups, and we will be meeting with them again. We'll also be working with the TSTCs and Lamars to kind of incorporate some of these same measures into their accountability system. So I imagine that their accountability system will be changing to reflect more of that community college role that they play.
The TSTCs and the Lamars were part of this system that we developed at the governor's directive. So they had already been established.
Right.
They fall under this set.
They actually fell under the other set because they have, their board of regents is an appointed board, and so they fell under the other set. But their mission, they're very much a hybrid, and so it's we're going to talk with them about using the same community college measures that we have agreed with TAC about, and the community colleges to use those measures for the TSTCs and the Lamar State Colleges also. But we are in the process of getting that information all up to date.
I have a question on that.
Yes, go ahead.
On page 28, where I'm looking at accountability system measures, dual credit, I assume that's the high school dual credit.
Right.
So will TEA report that, plus you're interested in, we want to know too then?
We get that information right now.
We do?
We collect that information.
Probably never known where to look.
Well, we can get you information on that, but they report to us high school students, and there's two different types of students. There are those students that are taking college level courses from a community college, either on their campus or at the higher ed campus, and they're reported that way. Then there are students that have passed TASC or the entrance exam, do not need developmental ed. They're taking courses at night while they're going to high school. They don't necessarily tell the college that this is going to, and it's not a course that is offered for, quote unquote, for dual credit. It's not going to replace one of their high school courses, but they're taking college level courses just to get a jump start on college. And so we have actually just recently been working with the TEA information and with ours, and we're seeing more of that than we expected to see, shall I say. There's kind of a disjoint from what TEA is saying are dual credit and what we have in our records as dual credit.
They should match, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should match, and it's because of those students that aren't actually getting high school credit for the dual credit, but it's a very much a growing.
It's a slightly different definition, something Susan and her staff discovered, and so they're taking the initiative and
we're working with TEA
making the data
and
more
getting
parallel.
Get better numbers than TEA does, is that basically?
I think different. I'm not going to say
The
better.
definition isn't exactly the same.
Okay. Just
Sorry.
curious.
It would be interesting if there could be an indicator that would look at the partnership or relationship that all of the community colleges have with their school districts. And if there were some sort of an indicator that would reward colleges and universities for having those kinds of relationships on both sides of the challenge of closing the gaps. One being the fact that many of them are offering dual credit for the rigor of the senior year of kids that either don't need to take any more classes, or they're taking a dual credit English class or whatever. And the other side would be the developmental ed side, where colleges and community colleges would have some sort of an incentive to have relationships with the school districts, so that they would go in and work with the school districts in the high schools to really look at what works best, not something prescriptive where everyone must do this, but it would be something that there would be a challenge out there that I think could really make a dent in the numbers and percentages of high school graduates needing developmental ed.
That's a good thought, and I think that ties back in, Commissioner, to accountability issues. That those are the things that there's eventually. I didn't say this earlier, but there in the legislature, as Raymond and Terry know, there's a number that, including the governor's office, I believe, at some point in time, we're going to see some money tied to this. And there's going to be some real incentives to deal with these issues, and those kind of things that we can incentivize, particularly on developmental ed, to reduce that or to take care of it at the community college level. I think that's a good thought. So,
just a comment there. We haven't mentioned, we haven't developed this yet, but I've asked staff to look at sort of the triangle between our accountability system, our formula process, and even our program review process, and see how they fit together and how we can link them in a more meaningful way. And we're just beginning that process.
We need to be out front on that, because I would rather us develop that and it be something that's going to work than to mandate something that's from particularly an emotional standpoint that may not work. And so One thing I want to commend Susan and the staff was, of course, working with community college and the institutions and them coming together with the association. I think that's a great step to have everybody on the same page. And I'm amazed that you were able to pull off the groupings. That was one of the more difficult things, Terry, if you remember, on the university college level. But that's something needed to be done because it's not fair to group everybody together because one size doesn't fit all, and so that's a great step, and so I'm going to commend you for that.
Well, and I have to give credit to Bill Holda, who is president of one of the community colleges, no, he's not Tyler. Kilgore College. He worked very hard on getting all the community colleges to agree on those groupings, so I have to give him recognition on that. He was
Congratulations to him, because that needs to be done, obviously, to be effective.
And the measures.
This is an information item. We're in Susan and David, what's the anticipation of bringing this back to the board time-wise as far as approval?
For approval, we'd like to get all the data, and we can bring it back for final approval in October.
Okay, very good.
We'd like to get all the data loaded.
Anybody else have any questions regarding the accountability system we're working on for our community colleges? Okay. The next item is discussion of the Coordinating Board Strategic Plan 2007-11. Every 2 years, all state agencies have to update their strategic plan and submit it to the governor's office and the Legislative Budget Board in June. Unfortunately, the instructions are usually delivered late, in this case March the 15th, so you don't have a great deal of time. At the April board meeting, you gave the board chairman, Bob Shepard, and myself, the chairman of this committee, were given authority to approve that plan, and we have that before you. You should have been forwarded it's called the Agency Strategic Plan. If you had a chance to go through that, you see that it's very tied to closing the gaps, and it's very detailed. And I think primarily the primary changes from the previous strategic plan were primarily just updating the data as much as anything. But if you have some other comments, David?
I think while it's not complete, it also we tried to include the thrust of many of Raymond's comments to the board in terms of the directions we're going that he's brought to you at the last three meetings. Susan and her staff have followed they're very direct directions from the legislature really the LBB and the governor's office in terms of how to prepare the document. Right. We hope to take it to another level next time we come out and make it even more reflective of the board direction.
I don't know who writes it, but it's very readable. And I really like the organization of the opportunities versus the barriers or whatever your title was for it. But it was, for a strategic plan, I thought it was interesting. I mean, sometimes they sound like someone talking, which is unusual to me in reading it. So
I have to give Janet Dinky on the staff good credit for this. And
very well done.
Has this draft been sent to the entire board yet?
I believe it went to the entire board.
Yeah, it did.
In time for comment.
Yeah, we just got it.
The only thing I would just comment, though, of course, it looks pretty onerous, but with the plans 50 pages and the rest of it's attachments. And I would just say it's for me, even though it's a lot of things we've heard, especially for the new board members, it's a really good document. It is. To read and give you a real good broad overview of what's being done on all four of our, closing the gaps goals. So I just kind of gets it's a little onerous looking, but
that's
I encourage everybody to read it because it's really good information for especially new folks.
Neil, you touched on something that would actually help, having not been present the last time we updated this, I don't think. I didn't know what was new and what wasn't. If there was a guide or something that just...
We had a red line copy, that'd be good. Yeah.
Something's different.
That ought to be easy, yeah.
I'd still like that. Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay. And that, with your comments are timely, because we're about to have a new board member, so whenever that gets done, I think the only thing that's hanging that up is a senator right now, so. But, and that's only because of timing. I don't think it has anything to do with substance. So. We don't need a motion on this because the board's already given Bob and I the authority to finalize this, but if you do have comments, the deadline, we've got to submit this by
June 23rd.
June 23rd, so if you got them, get them to Susan ASAP, and we'll get you a red line version. Can we get that by email?
Yes.
And we don't need the appendixes. You don't want the appendix. This is, yeah.
The appendices are a lot of what is required
46 pages.
from the governor's office, and so
we can just get a red line.
And really not even every one of them. If you're just updating numbers or if there was something substantive.
We can go through and compare the two.
Okay.
There are some changes. There's more emphasis on P16 collaboration. There's more emphasis on developmental education.
That's right. There's also want to note that Laura Weber noticed that the mission of the board didn't even specifically address closing the gap. So you also note that there's actually been a small change to the mission to include that as part of the board-specific mission, and you should be aware of that.
That's happened
In this version.
Yes, it's in this version. It's just been in the last 2 weeks that was noticed, one of the things that was overlooked.
That's on page 9.
Page 9.
I just didn't know what it used to come.
We can give you a copy of the other one.
All righty. The next item, again, is also informational because, again, the board in April gave Chairman Shepard and I the authority to approve the final plan, not realizing we were going to have this meeting. There is also a strategic plan for community colleges, but you also have a draft of that. And Susan, David, you want to comment on that? It also has, by the way, the same deadline of submittal.
June 23rd. This community college strategic plan is somewhat different in that it is a hybrid. It was originally done by each of the community college, back in 91, by each of the community college districts. They didn't like each doing their own strategic plan, so then it kind of was formed in together and done by the Community College Association. Over the years, that has kind of morphed to where the coordinating board is doing it. This plan was just an update of the previous plan. When we do it next time, we're hoping to take a different tack and kind of work with the Community College Association more. And
actually, I would like to talk with the Community College Association about whether we should continue this plan. There's a little bit more of an artifact. Actually, at the time, each university and health science center prepared an individual strategic plan. They have not for several sessions. This plan, we're not sure in its current structure is useful. We might want to have a strategic plan for them, but do it outside the constraints of this process. It's different from our strategic plans. It's not connected to our LAR. It's not connected to the budgeting process. And so we think we ought to at least have some discussions about whether this particular form is useful. It's okay. The only one of these left for higher education.
So this is just a generic.
This is not something. This is not something that we have to or required to submit to LBB at the current time.
We are.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, we still are.
And what you're saying is that we may be coming with a recommendation to LBB to.
As we're examining where we can best spend our efforts, we're wondering if this particular approach is the best use of our time, and we haven't reached a conclusion on that yet. But I just wanted to mention that.
Commissioner, on page 14, there's a discussion about the alignment, curriculum alignment, and I guess my question was timing-wise. I know, of course, this House Bill 1 just got signed by the governor, but that's in that first full paragraph or second full paragraph there. In terms of what the timing was to the efforts between our board and TEA on that. You have some thoughts on that, as to what the timing may be?
I can't say off the top of my head. I think we're talking about all of this year, are we not?
Fall this year? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're beginning that process, but that process will be fairly lengthy to get all the fields.
So, yeah, it's going. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you would begin the fall this year, and it's going to take that time to put the groups together to really begin to develop this, and then we're probably looking at least a year before it would be implemented, if not longer.
It'll be longer than that.
Yeah. Okay.
There are different aspects of implementation. I think there's some things that have to be worked out from the agency. So
there may need some rule changes and some legislative changes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
This may be a question I should know the answer, but I don't. How often do we do what we're looking at right now? Every 2 years?
Every 2 years.
After every session, prior to every session?
Prior to every session.
Prior to every session, yeah. Again,
regular session? Thank you, yes, regular session.
Yeah. Again, this is an information item, and we'll move on to item 2G, and that is consideration of an amendment to our rules. I think it's primarily an edit issue.
There is one small edit, and that is that under B, 14B, talks about designated tuition. By statute, the community colleges cannot charge designated tuition, and so we wanted to make that very clear in our rules, that we were not asking them to do anything that didn't comply with statute.
Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Neal, and a second by Mr. Ransom to approve the recommended rule change. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. That concludes our agenda. Let me, in closing, I hope the board has noticed, particularly in the construction area, how smoothly that's going, and that's just not just happening. That's because of this lady to my right and her staff. Susan Brown's doing a great job of working with the institutions, and I see Mike shaking his head, but I hear good comments, Susan, from everybody that it's a great opportunity, a great process, and they enjoy working with you and your staff, and how this thing is, we're getting the projects where they need to be before they even get to this level, and that's, you're to be commended for that.
Well, I appreciate that. They may not be as complimentary. We're making them work all summer on a committee to review all the standards, and so they may not want to come to Austin anymore.
No, I think they do. I think they want to be a part of that, and I appreciate their willingness to do that. But we need to continually be sure that we're consistent with the market in terms of what we're doing related to construction, particularly, and that our standards are consistent with the market. Thank the staff also for the hard work of putting the other areas together in our agenda, and if there's nothing, Mr., you have any comments?
No, I think we've covered just about everything.
We get final copies of these?
Yes, ma'am, you will. Otherwise, will the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn?
Well, that's exactly.
So moved. Foster moves to adjourn. Second. And Mr. Ryder, or Mr. Hinton seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
And I'm getting messages from Nancy that lunch is available in the lunch bar room.
Is there a typo on